Verse 7. Now I got to work around this, so give me a little time. Show me. Y'all with me, verse 7? And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Adam and his wife hid themselves from his presence, the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees in the garden. And the Lord called unto Adam, and he said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid. Now watch this. God had given Adam one commandment. Do not eat of the tree in the midst of the garden, the knowledge of good and evil. But they did it. Now, when you mess up, the first thing you think about is that I know I messed up, so I feel that God is going to condemn me. Condemnation. I feel that I have messed up and I have been condemned by God. Let me tell you what happens after you get condemned by God. Would you believe that you're condemned by God? What happens is that according to the text, Adam got afraid. When you feel that God has condemned you, the first thing you do is become afraid. And when you become afraid, if you pay attention to the text, they got stressed. They were stressed when they heard his voice walking in the cool of the day, so they hid themselves. See, once you get scared because you've been condemned, then you get afraid. And when you get afraid, you get stressed. You got afraid. You got stressed because they felt they were condemned. And the fourth thing you do after that, third thing you do after that is you try to fix it. You try to fix it. So they sewed fig leaves together and made an apron for themselves. And when they heard God's voice in the cool of the day, they hid. You feel condemned. You become afraid. You become stressed out. You try to fix it, but you mess up again. And when you mess up again, you feel condemned. You get afraid. You get stressed out. You try to fix it, and you blow it again. And you feel condemned. You get afraid. You get stressed out. You try to fix it. You mess up again. It is a perpetual cycle that Satan wants you to fall into. And I know y'all saying, well, how you come up with this? It's in the text, but the thing is, think about it. You've been coming to church. You've been preached to about the law. When you mess up, you feel condemned. And then you get afraid because you don't want to go to hell. And then you get stressed out because you don't seem to be able to get it right. And so you try to fix it. And then you mess up. And you feel condemned. and you get afraid and you get stressed out, so you try to fix it. It's a perpetual cycle, because we, like the Jews in the text in Acts, think, I got to keep the law. The only difference between them is they didn't think they messed up. And they were too busy pointing out the Gentiles, hoping to cover their own mess. Now, there's a way to get over it. There is a way to get over it. And the first thing you have to understand is God don't condemn you. Oh, yeah, I'm going to mess with you today. God don't condemn you. How do I know he don't condemn you? Because God said he sent his son into the world not to condemn it, but to save man. He didn't send Jesus down here to condemn folks who had sinned. He sent him to save them. He sent him to save them. He said, I didn't come to condemn you. I come to fulfill the law, that you might be saved. He said, so first thing you got to understand is when the devil try to tell you you done messed up and that God has condemned you, you got to tell him, no, he didn't come to condemn me. He didn't come to condemn me. He come to save me. You got to understand that. You got to understand. And the next thing you got to learn how to do is accept God's mercy. Accept God's mercy. If you look in Lamentations chapter 3, I believe it's verse 22 and 23 that tells us that we are not consumed because of God's mercies. Say, in other words, God don't consume me for messing up, but he gives me mercy. And I found this very hard to believe, that God would give us grace, mercy, and salvation, and we find it hard to accept. You got to understand that you got to understand that God's mercy, if you keep reading it, it'll tell you, he said he give us new mercies every morning. He gives us new mercies every morning. And this jumped in my head when I read it, is that God gives me new mercies every morning, and I don't even know what I'm going to do. God says, I know you're going to need some mercy.